Hi YouTube, I'm back with a very important video. I'm just gonna get right into it because this is unfortunately a hard enough topic for me to even talk about. So um so I'm just gonna jump right into it. So I'm gonna be talking about narcissism and gaslighting in this video. So I thought to bring this into a video because unfortunately I dealt with a narcissistic person that also gaslighted me and the entire relationship while I was with them. And I unfortunately did not know what was going on until I actually took therapy last year during like the height of the COVID thing. So during that time, I figured why not take advantage of the time of me not being at work and take counseling, because unfortunately there's been times where, and even now, like it's better now, but there's been times where I keep having flashbacks of that prior relationship, and it's kind of met, like, intersecting into my current one. So I did take counseling because I didn't know why I was doing the certain things I used to do. And unfortunately, I wish I've known about these things sooner, and someone brought it into my attention. Well, someone brought it to my attention, so I was aware of these things, but I did not know until I took counseling. So now I feel like I need to talk about this because this is something that I find to be very serious, that can be very detrimental to someone's health, and it needs to be, talked about more often. So narcissism, or a narcissistic person, is a disorder where a person have an inflated self-importance for them, for themselves. And I'm looking down at my other phone, if you guys are wondering why I'm looking down. So this disorder is more common in men than it is in women. It's very rare to be a narcissistic person. It's a fewer than 200,000 people that have it. And you have to be diagnosed by someone to have this disorder. So apparently you can have treatment for this. I don't know what the treatment is. I guess counseling. I have no idea. I didn't actually read up onto that. But this is extremely real. And these people tend to have an extreme need for admiration, disregard for other people's feelings, inability to handle any criticism, and a self entitlement for some reason. So we're going to be talking about that, and plus gaslighting, which kind of goes hand in hand with each other, sadly. So gaslighting is just someone that's manipulative, and they continue to do their tactics to a victim so that they question their own sanity, which is so sad to even say. It's why would anyone, like, why are there people out here that are like it just boggles my freaking mind. Like, there's people out here that are like this. So to get into further things, I'm gonna bring up my previous relationship, and to just make everything easier, we're just gonna pretend that my ex's name is Brian, for lack of better words, or lack of better name. I'm just gonna say Brian. And yeah, I'm just gonna get into the story. So I was with Brian for 11 years. Me and Brian have a child together. We lived together. We did a lot of things together, like a couple would do. He and I were never engaged. We were never planning to get married or any of that stuff. So it's just really hard for me to talk about it because it just brings back things that I dealt with in a relationship that just gets me to the point where I just want to just like not talk about it. But it's hard to get into, so I'm really gonna try my best to talk about it. But so we lived together. We were together for 11 years. We probably lived together maybe 6 of those 11. Um So being with him, I was with him literally right out of high school. Like I met him while I was in high school. I was my senior year. He was in college at the time. So I actually found myself to think that I had hit the jackpot because I was still in high school. He was in college. He went to a decent college at that. Like he was studying at a good college. So I'm like, you know what? This guy seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He seems to be decent. We would talk a lot. You know, he was spent a lot of time talking to me. Even though I had school, he would, call me. I think he called me before school. But I remember talking to him like at least 3 times a day. So I think he called me before school, and then I would talk to him after school, definitely after school. And then I think like later in the night, like before I went to bed or something like that. Like we talked pretty often. So I thought he was a decent person. I unfortunately hate to admit it, but I like attention. He gave me attention a lot, so I like that as well. And he was funny. He was a humorous person. Like, his personality was decent. So I just, I started to grow to like him. And once I graduated high school, our relationship kicked up a little bit more because now I'm like not in school anymore and I have more time. And he, college was over. College usually ends in May, like the semester. And I graduated in June. So like we spent more time together. And ended up making it official during that summer when I graduated. So we spent a lot of time together. We did a lot of things together. Like a couple would do. But I started to see like a decline in his behavior when I had went to this is when he went back to college, like for the next semester. And I went there to go visit, and I was like, okay, we're just chilling watching TV, and then like all of a sudden he just throws the fucking remote at the wall, and I'm like, okay. Like I wanted to leave. And I think I actually told him that. I said, I'm just going to head out. And he's like, no, chill. You live, like his college is far from where I lived at. Like I had to take like 3 buses to get there. So, and it was getting kind of late at that time. So he's like, no, just stay. You have to travel far to get back home. I'm not going to do nothing like that again. I'm just angry because of, like, I think he blamed it on like schoolwork or something. I don't remember. But, yeah, so I ended up staying because he actually chilled out after that. But like him throwing that remote kind of like should have told me like, girl, get out of here. Like, don't even do this to yourself. Because I'm like, it was still early in a relationship. At this point, we were probably together like 3 or 4 months or something like that. Or no, it was longer than that. I'm tripping. Like 6 months. Because I think he went back to school in January. So we were together for like 6 months at the time. I'm like, that's still pretty, like, not a long time. I mean, it is, but it's not. But for me being 18, I'm like, that's 6 months is a long time for me. So I just, stuck around, even though I should have just dipped from that relationship at that point, but I didn't. And I still remember to this day, like the wall that he threw the fucking remote at, it's like, it has a freaking hole in the wall now. And I'm like, just looking at the freaking wall with the hole in it, I'm just like, why? I should have just left then, but I didn't. Because it was a long journey back home, and I'm like, I don't feel like dealing with that and taking all these buses to get back home. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna stay. I should have just left. But so moving forward into the relationship, I had doubts of him being faithful, even though he would sit here and tell me like, oh, I'm being faithful, I'm not doing anything. But like, back when chirp phones, this is when chirp phones were popular, everyone had a freaking chirp phone. If people chirped you, it would be out loud, and it would, some people's phones were loud. I don't think anyone had their phone on silent with a chirp. So people would chirp him, and it'll be females like, oh, where you at? And I'm like, who's this? Like, why are there females hitting you up? I didn't think anything of it at the time because I'm like, it was still pretty early in relationship. I wasn't really taking the relationship seriously. But I wasn't. I wasn't really taking it seriously. So I'm just like, you know what? I gave him his time to get these like women off of his back. And I didn't really think anything of it at the time, which I should have, but I didn't. So, and then he would lie. Like, I think one time I actually took his phone and ran into the bathroom because we were in public at the time. So I had took his phone and just ran into the bathroom so I can look at his phone, like, what's going on in here. And yeah, I seen text messages from different women, like, you know, that it seemed like he was talking to them, or, you know, doing things with them, but I wasn't 100% sure, because everything was written, like, it wasn't written clearly, like, hey, we did this or that. It was just like certain things that would insinuate that, hey, he was doing something, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I asked him about it. Of course he denied it. You know, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. This person is this person, like, this is my friend, or this is my cousin, or some crap he would tell me. And I'm just like, you know what, whatever. So I just left it alone. But, you know, moving down into the relationship, like 2 years into the relationship, he was still, you know, talking to other women. And I'm just like, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, even his friends would back up his lies for him, like, hey, you know, this is just his friend. This is how she always talks. So one chick, I remember going through his phone, and she just kept calling him babe and hey baby and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, who is this? Like, why did she keep calling you that? And then his friends would back up his bullshit and be like, oh yeah, that's how she always talks. I know her. And, you know, I believed it at the time, because I'm just like, you know, I'm still naive. I'm still young. So of course I'm going to believe the crap that he says. But, you know, I'm just like, whatever. Okay. So I just left it alone. Not to mention, a lot of times I would find him on like social media sites that were known to be for dating and stuff like that. And he would lie about all of this stuff. It's like, oh, this isn't my profile. I don't know whose account this is. I never made an account on here. I don't come on here. All this other crap he would tell me. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, I can't take this anymore. So eventually, like, you know, 2 years into the relationship, I wanted to end it, because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I knew something was wrong, but I just couldn't pinpoint it. So, me and him were out somewhere, and I actually like had I think I had my mom's car at the time. I didn't have my own car yet. So, wherever we were at, I just left him there, and I just left, because I think I had to go pick my mom up or something. So I just left him there. So I'm talking to my mom, and she's like, yeah, you know, you've been with him for 2 years. That's a long time. You need to reconcile it with him, and, you know, stop being selfish and da 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 da. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I ended up listening to my mom, which I highly regret. Love my mom to death, but I'm like, I really regret taking that advice, because I knew what I was doing. In my soul, in my heart, I knew what I was doing. So, going further down into the relationship, 4 years into our relationship, we ended up moving in together. It wasn't something purposely done. I moved in with a roommate. He ended up moving in like shortly after that with me, because it just, I don't know, it just happened that way. So he ended up moving in. You know, it just got worse, because now I can see what he's doing, you know, full frontal, because he lives with me now, so I can see all this stuff. And he wouldn't come home sometimes. He would be out all night, not come home till the next morning, things like that. And then I'm like, you know, why are you not coming home when you're supposed to? Oh, because I missed the bus, or my friend's car broke down, I couldn't make it home, or, you know, just telling me a bunch of crap that didn't even make any sense. And mind you, my house, you know, where we lived maybe and I'm being really generous here, maybe 2 towns over from where all the partying and clubbing where he used to do. It was in that city that was literally like a city or 2 from where I lived at. It was only 10-15 minutes drive. So I'm like, there's no reason why you can't just take your behind and come home. You have to tell me, oh, you missed the bus. The bus runs 24 hours. There's no reason why you telling me you missed the bus. Oh, I missed the bus, and I'm going to catch the next one, but I ended up falling asleep on the bus, ended up here, ended up there. I was just told a bunch of crap. So, you know, I ended up seeing how he really was and what he was really doing. And, of course, you know, he wasn't out here cheating. That was definitely a no-go. Like, oh, I'm not cheating. Why would you assume that? This, and this, and this, and that. I'm like, okay, whatever. There's that. So, we used to fight a lot. There was a lot of fighting. The relationship began to get toxic, very, very toxic. I ended up being someone that I wasn't, and I noticed it. Like, I'm not a violent person. I'm not an argumentative person. I'm not someone that is just like I'm not like that. You know, I'm a crazy girl, don't get me wrong, but I'm not crazy to the point where I'm harming someone or, you know, being malicious. I'm not that kind of person. Like, I turned into that person being with him at some point because it was just becoming ridiculous. You're telling me stuff that doesn't make sense. You're telling me scenarios that don't add up. You know, especially the bus thing. And I'm just like, we don't live that far away from where you're clubbing and partying at. We don't live that far. So there's no reason why you're telling me you're missing a bus and this and that and the third. I'm like, we don't live that far. So it's like you could have called a cab home, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's no excuse. And we lived in that apartment because me and the roommate ended up not getting along. So I ended up moving out before the lease was even over there. So I think I moved out maybe 10 months in. Or 9, I don't remember. And me and Brian ended up getting our own apartment together, like with our names on the lease and everything, like it was official. So we ended up getting our own place together. Shortly after of us moving in together, I ended up getting pregnant. And it just kept going downhill from there. Like, it just kept getting worse. This man begged and pleaded for me to get an abortion. And like, there were some days he wouldn't even talk to me because I was pregnant. And I'm like, this isn't even solely my fault. Like, I'm like, you can't expect women to get an abortion because you want them to. You got me pregnant. You know what the heck was going on when you laid down and did this. This is the possibility of doing this. This is what happens. You end up having babies. So, you know, the fact that he begged and pleaded for me to get an abortion and I didn't want to get one, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't something that's okay to act, like, to be this way. And I'm just like, I'm already emotional as hell because I'm pregnant. And I'm just like, why? What is going on? And then, like, there would be some days he would not talk to me because of it. Like, on some asshole shit. Like, I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. So, eventually he got over it. You know, like, I was unhappy as hell being pregnant. And I didn't really tell people this. And I didn't post my pregnancy on social media at all. Like, I didn't even tell people I was pregnant. I didn't even write anything about being pregnant. Didn't post any pictures, nothing, because I was just so freaking depressed and unhappy because he just did not treat me good at all. Like, during my whole pregnancy, he was just a total ass. And you know, usually you can text your partner and say, hey, you know, I'm craving this and that. Can you please get me these things? He did not do any fucking thing. He wouldn't even come to me with my appointments, nothing. So and a lot of people are going to say, well, he didn't want the baby. Why do you expect him to do? Because we're in a relationship. It's not like I'm a one-night stand or something like that. We're in a relationship. We've been together for almost 5 years. This is what's going on. Like, for you to totally just, like, totally be an asshole because you got me fucking pregnant is not okay. And you can't sit here and expect me to get an abortion because you don't want a baby, you don't want to be responsible. He didn't want me to have a baby because he wants to still be out here partying and clubbing and spending money on stupid shit, being out here cheating and doing all this stuff. That's why he didn't want me to have a baby. So, very selfish. And, you know, I basically went through the pregnancy alone without him because he did not really help me. He was not there. And the same thing as before when we lived with a roommate, he was not coming home. He would come, you know, he would go out and be out for days, come home days later. And it's like, wow, like, I'm pregnant, bro. Like, you can't be home with me to make sure that I'm good, you know, make sure I'm not, like, puking my brains out, nothing. He was not there. But I will sit here and say that my family helped me out a lot. They really did. They helped me out a lot during my pregnancy, even though I was a complete asshole to them because I was just not happy. Like, I was depressed. When I was pregnant, I was not happy at all. Like, I did not want to be pregnant. And I just knew that I did not want to have a baby with him because he's just not, you know, he has an immature mindset. And I just knew that I just knew later down in the future that this was not going to be a good outlook. But I just went along with the pregnancy anyway. I didn't even go to the doctor to, like, make sure that the baby was good until I was, like, 4 months pregnant. Like, my dad had to, like, beg me to go to the doctor. He's like, go to the doctor. You have to go. Like, you have to make sure your baby's okay. And I'm just like, I was in denial for, like, 4 months of my pregnancy because I just did not want to be pregnant. And I was really upset because I was not happy, you know, because he was just, like, treating me like crap. And I'm like, you know, I dealt with that. And, a lot of people were like, why didn't you post it on socials? I was not happy at all. Like, I was not happy being pregnant. You know, I love my daughter to death. Don't get me wrong. I love her to death. But I'm just like, I was just not happy during my pregnancy. So there's that. And then, you know, while I'm pregnant, I don't have actual confirmation of it, but I'm pretty sure he was out here cheating on me while I was pregnant, coming home, doing stuff with me. And I'm just like, I got sick to my stomach, because I'm just like, you could have gave me anything to me, to your baby, to your unborn kid. You could have gave me anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he's out here just doing these type of things, and then he would lie about it. And of course, women that know their man know that when, you know, I don't know how to say this properly, but you know when he hasn't done anything and when he has. So I would know when he's done something. I'm like, I haven't done anything with you in a while, so what's going on? Like, I would know. I knew. So I'm just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. I was just so unhappy, and I'm like, you could have brought anything home to me. Like, it's just, the lack of concern was just not there. The fighting, the bickering, the arguing, you know, there's been cops called plenty of times. Like, I'm like, you know, as later as in my pregnancy is getting, you know, he would be more and more aggressive and hostile and things like that. And I just couldn't deal with it. I was so unhappy during my whole pregnancy. Before my daughter was born, I ended up moving back in with my dad, because the apartment we lived in wasn't that safe. The people downstairs were like wild, always having parties and smoking weed and all that stuff. And he eventually moved out and other people moved in, but it was still a bad area. People were shooting out front. I'm like, I can't stay in this place. So we ended up moving back in with my, he moved back in with his people, whatever, and I moved back in with my dad. So for 2 years I lived with my dad until he and I got an apartment again with our daughter. And you know, nothing got better. You know, still fighting, still toxic relationship, everything. Him still not coming home. Like, you know, weekends he would not be home at all. And my daughter wasn't home either, because I still had to work. So she would be with one of her grandparents during the weekends, and he would not be home either. And I'm just like, wow, I would eventually come home, but I just had to work. But he didn't come home at all. And for some reason, every job he would get, he would work overnights on weekends, which I found to be so strange. I'm like, how is every freaking job you get, you work mid shift or morning shift during the other days, but weekends come, you work overnights? And that was his excuse, I guess, for him to go out and party and not come home and do whatever the hell he was doing. And, you know, it's just like all of these things that I was told, it just didn't make any sense. And it just, you know, dealing with a gaslighter and a narcissist, it makes you really question a lot of things. And it makes you sit here and say, like, you know, well, how would this make sense? And realistically, how would this make sense? How does that make sense? How does what he just told me make sense? And, you know, how does this lie actually make sense to what he's saying, to what's going on, like to what I'm actually looking at? How does it make sense? Like, there would be a lot of times where he would, you know, deny something that's literally proof that I would have. No, that's not true. That's not right. Or, you know, if there's a picture of him or a camera, you know, because I actually had a camera installed into my house, like a security cam. And there was a time where he, like towards the end of our relationship, he would still be continuing to lie. And, there was a time where he had to, this is like, my daughter's in school. She started school this year. There was a time that he and I would rotate putting her on the school bus for school. So this was his day to do it, to put her on the bus. Something just told me to wake the hell up. Like, I never got a good sleep dealing with him. I swear I never did. So something just told me to wake up that morning, because he was not home. He wasn't here. He wasn't home. So, you know, I had to deal with that. And I eventually, you know, woke up in time, got my daughter ready, got her on the bus. I had to work that day, so I ended up leaving, I think, like an hour later. And then, you know, he texted me super freaking late, like maybe like 10 o'clock. And I'm just like, bro, like, you had to put your daughter on the bus at 8. Like, it's 10 now. Like, you're just now reaching out to me. He's like, no, I've been home since 8:30. I got home late, but you know, I was home way earlier. I was home at 8:30. And then I would send him the screenshots of the camera, like getting him, like of the camera literally like recording him walking through the door. It was like 11 o'clock. He's like, no, that's not right. That's wrong. The time is wrong. That's not the time I came home. That's not true. And I'm just like, it's right here. How are you telling me this is wrong? I'm like, I literally, and then I showed him the screenshot of me leaving the house at like 9:40 or something like that. Cause I think I had to go to work at 10 o'clock. So I was leaving the house at like 9:40 and I sent him the screenshot of that. And he's like, I was like, you were not home. Cause I just left like a quarter to 10. You were not here. So how are you home at 8:30? And he's still a lie. And I'm just like, how are you lying? And there's literally proof of you not doing what you just said. I don't understand how much proof do I need to give you. So it's literally, you can give these people proof of something and they will still continue to lie. And then now it just makes you go crazy because it's like, how are you lying about something that's literally right in front of your face? How are you lying about that? I put a security camera in my house just because I was sick of him lying and I wanted to catch him in his lies. And it came to that point where I was just like, I'm tired of the lying. I'm tired of you making up stories. I'm tired of it. So I bought a camera and put it in my house. It constantly records. I still keep it in my house even though I don't live with him anymore. I still keep it in my house for safety reason. But before I bought it solely just for him, just so he can stop freaking lying. But it didn't stop him from lying. He still continued to lie. There would be so many times like, oh, I came home, I did this and I did that, or I did this and I did that. And I'm just like, no, you did not come home. I was there. How are you going to tell me? I'm like, because the camera didn't pick you up coming home. Oh, that camera is broken. It doesn't work properly. And I'm just like, oh my God. Now the camera doesn't work properly. Okay. What else? What other lies can you make up to justify your bullshit? What other lies can you make up? It's like, that's what I dealt with. The lying was extreme. He used to lie about cheating. He lied about a lot of stuff. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because, you know, I dealt with this horrible individual for 11 years. And dealing with a narcissist for that long had me develop a lot of habits that I'm still trying to get out of. It had me, you know, become, like I said, a person that I wasn't, you know, like a violent person, a hostile person, you know, a freaking person that overthinked a lot because I'm trying to make sense of the crap he would tell me. You know, I used to pull up on him a lot because I was tired of the lying. Like, oh, he said, if he would say I'm here, I would pull up and make sure that's where he was at. And a lot of times he wasn't. A lot of times I would go out somewhere and I would see him there, but he's supposed to be at work. Or, you know, people would sit here and tell me like, hey, you know, I saw Brian at this and that place. And it'll be late at night, like 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm just like, he's supposed to be at work. So how is he out somewhere? He's supposed to be at work. And, you know, it was embarrassing to me because, like, you know, they're like, oh, I seen him out here. And he's like, no, they're wrong. They didn't see you. They didn't see me there. I don't know what they're talking about. They probably saw somebody that looked like me. And I'm just like, oh, my God, like, how many times? And it would be different people that would tell me. So I'm just like, why would they need to lie about that? And for some reason, they knew what he looked like, even without even seeing him in person. And one time people would take, like, they would take pictures of him like, yo, this is him. Cause, or he would be asleep somewhere, or, you know, just totally just not the type of image that I was trying to, I can't even explain that better, but he was just like embarrassing me, to put it simply. Falling asleep in places, being caught here, being caught there, and then he would lie about it and say, oh, that's not me. And I'm just like, it clearly is you. Like, oh, they don't know what I look like. They never met me before, so how the hell do they know it's me? And I'm just like, because I post pictures of you on my Facebook, they know what you look like. You're not that hard to spot. You know what I'm saying? So all the lying, and even with pictures, still it's not me, da 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 da. And I remember one time my friend took a picture of him sleeping somewhere, and like he just blacked out on my friend. I'm just like, at the time she was pregnant. I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm like, stop falling asleep in places you shouldn't be at. Like, don't black out on my friends. That was not okay at all, because you were caught somewhere you shouldn't have been. Like, you want to black out on my friend? Like, that's not okay. You know, that we have to deal with that. The criticism part, he doesn't like criticism at all. Like, you know, if you even tell him something simple like, hey, you know, you're not washing the dishes properly, I'm finding spots on them, can you please like go look over them? No, that's not what's happening, I'm washing the dishes perfectly, I don't know what you're talking about, that's not true. Like, I had to deal with that. Simple little things like that, I had to get yelled and screamed at about me being wrong, and that's not true. If I brought up my feelings saying, hey, you know, I don't feel like you love me, or I don't feel like you want to be in this relationship. Oh, that's not true. I do love you. I don't know what you're talking about. I do want to be in this relationship. I don't know what you're talking about. Your feelings are wrong. They're not true. That's not right. And, you know, the lack of empathy was there as well. Like, you know, if I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling down and it's mad obvious, you know, that I'm not feeling okay, he can't recognize that I'm not feeling all right, or he doesn't seem to care about it. Anytime I expressed my feelings, I was always wrong. I was, you know, my feelings were incorrect. They weren't right. I don't know why you feel that way. It's not true, or, you know, things like that I had to hear. And, but the main thing that, you know, that he did, that actually I'm thankful that this happened because it got me completely out of this relationship. You know, the lying was a main thing. It was too extreme for me. Just lying about stupid things that doesn't make any sense. Just lying, period, about anything. And it's like, you're a grown man. You don't need to lie about what you do. This is what you do. Cool. You're a grown man. Do what you want to do. There's been plenty of times where I've asked him like, hey, if you don't want to be in this relationship, let me know so we can go our separate ways. I've been telling him that for, you know, maybe since 2017 when we moved into our apartment after my daughter was born. I'm just like, you know, if you don't want to be in this relationship, let me know. Like, we can move forward and, you know, we can co-parent, whatever. And I always just tell him, like, I'm not taking our daughter away from you. That's not what I intend to do. I don't know if that was a concern for him as to why he didn't end this relationship sooner. I have no idea. I still don't know to this day. Even though I reassured him, I said, you know, I'm not keeping your daughter away from you. That's not my right. That's not even anything that I have a right to do. And I told him that a lot. I reassured him, you know, even like now we're co-parenting, obviously, because we're not together. He sees his daughter every week. So that wasn't my intentions to take her away from him, because that's not my right to do. But, you know, I always reassured him, and I'm just like, if you don't want to be in this relationship, let me know, because I'm not going to keep having you drag me along and tell me that everything is okay and it's not. And he would do that all the time. Oh, you know, or it would be something about him that I would like him to change, and he'll change it for like maybe 2 or 3 days, and then he's back to the normal self he was. So the changing thing is also a part of the gaslighting thing, where they will say they're going to change and they don't. And, you know, they just keep pulling you along with them and their bullshit, and they're going to promise you things that doesn't happen. And, you know, even there, me asking him, like, you know, if you want to be in this relationship, let me know. He would say, oh yeah, I want to be in a relationship. Why would I want to break up, and all this other crap. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. But also during this time where I also would tell him this stuff, I actually started to dating other people, because I just did not feel like being in a relationship with him anymore, because I knew something was wrong, but I just could not pinpoint what it was. I was never at peace being with him. I never was happy. Well, I mean, I was happy, but during this time I wasn't happy anymore. I just dealt with him because we have a child together. I tried my best to make our relationship work as much as I could, but he just wasn't budging. I'm like, you know, let's do couples counseling, or let's take therapy, you know, let's try to make our relationship work. No, I don't want counseling. I don't want people in my business. We don't need to take counseling. We can work it out a different way. We don't need to do that. Da, 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 da. So that never got resolved. The relationship never improved. It just kept getting worse. The fighting always was a problem. The fighting got really violent to the point where blood was shed. It was really horrible. And I'm just like, I can't keep doing this, because we have a daughter together. Like, I can't keep doing this around her. And a lot of the time we would fight, because anytime I would try to have a conversation with him, there's no such thing as a conversation. there's no such thing as a civilized conversation. Everything always was an argument. It always started with him yelling and screaming, him denying something immediately. There was no such thing as a conversation with him, and it never went anywhere. It just turned into a big argument. So a lot of the time I would keep my mouth shut, anything I wanted to say, because I didn't want to argue. Normal people that I would have a conversation with, if I have a concern, it didn't turn into an argument. It was it was a conversation. It was a peaceful conversation. It wasn't a yelling, screaming match. It was, something got resolved. But him, nothing ever got resolved. It was just nothing but fighting, him yelling and screaming. And nothing ever got resolved from me talking to him. So after a while, I just stopped doing it. So even the relationship thing, I think I did tell him one time, like, hey, I'm starting to date other people. And then he got mad about that. He's like, oh, why are you doing that? We're in a relationship. We're trying to work it out. Da, da, da. And I'm just like, nothing's changing. You say you want to do this, but what you're telling me and your actions are not matching. And then he would get mad about that. And then one time I made a dating profile somewhere, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very upset that he found the page. I don't know how he found it, because he probably had a damn account on there himself. But he ended up showing me like screenshots of apparently what someone else, as he claimed, somebody else sent him these screenshots and sent it to him. It's like, oh, why do you have an account on here? And I actually lied, and I said, like, hey, my best friend made me an account on there. I didn't know she did it, because she wants me to move on and, date other people. And I lied and said that, even though I was the one that made the whole account, my friend did not make it. I lied because I was kind of surprised that he found it, and I thought I could just do my little thing in peace. But I don't know how he found it. He claims that someone else found it and sent him the screenshots, like, whatever. And then he's like, oh, these pictures. I'm like, where did you hit? I'm like, these pictures, the pictures that I had on that dating profile was also on my social media pages. So I'm just like, yeah, they probably took them off. My friend took them off my social media page and just put them on here. I don't know why I lied about that. I don't know, but I just didn't like the fact that I was caught with that page. Like, I just wanted to do what I was doing in private, you know what I'm saying? Like, without it being like a big thing. But anyways, so I had the account, and then he got mad about that. Even though he's out here doing him and cheating and all that stuff, but you're upset because it's like whenever, you try to move on and you're doing other things, they get upset. And moving forward into the current time, like, I was dating since 2006. I want to say 2017. I was dating off and on with other people. I didn't really focus on the dating too much because I was in school and I had work and my daughter and all the other stuff, and I was working like 2 jobs in school. Like, I didn't really have time to be dating other people. So I would see people here and there, but it wasn't nothing serious. So I actually started the profile again. I want to say maybe in early 2019. No, I'm sorry, 2018, like mid 2018, I started the profile again. I did meet someone off of there. We were dating for maybe like a good part of a year. It didn't go anywhere because he was reminding me of Brian too much. So I said, I don't want to be in a relationship with another narcissist, or at the time, another person like him, with the lying and the cheating and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do this again. So he and I didn't go, like, the relationship didn't go anywhere, because he was cheating also. Well, we weren't even together technically, but he had a girlfriend the whole fucking time. And I quickly let that go. So I stopped talking to him like early 2018. I deleted my profile off of that website because I was sick of the people I was meeting off of there. Like, I didn't meet any decent human beings at all. So I'm just like, I'm tired of being on this website. But something told me to reactivate it for whatever reason. I actually started it up again in September of last year. No, of September of 2019. Moving forward, I actually met someone off of there. We started dating and all that stuff like in October. And things progressed, and now I'm still with him to this day. We've been together, since then. And like, I was living with Brian at the time. Like, we still live together, unfortunately. So, me and my current boyfriend, like, we would talk on the phone a lot, which is unusual for me because I don't talk on the phone. So Brian would come home and see me on the phone or hear me on the phone, whatever, and he would get upset about it. He's like, well, why are you on the phone all the time, and who are you talking to, and it's disrespectful. Like, after a while, he would get a sense of what I was doing. He's like, oh, it's disrespectful that you're talking to another man in the house, and this, that, and the third. I'm just like, I don't see, I'm like, our relationship has come to an end. It's over, because I can't keep dealing with this with you. And, prior to me getting with my current relationship, I would tell him, like, hey, you need to move out. This isn't working. It's not working anymore. Like, I'm tired of you lying. I'm just tired of all of this stuff. I can't deal with it anymore. And, of course he acted like he was a victim. And I'm just like, oh my God, how can you do that? It's disrespectful that you moved on and you're with someone else, and that's just not right. And we're supposed to be together. You live with me. How can you be with someone else? You still live with you still live with me, and all of that other stuff. And I'm just like, wow. But it gets worse. So, I'm with my current boyfriend, whatever. Sometimes Brian would be home and I would leave to go on a date with him or whatever. And of course, like, I would dress up and try to look nice. Normally, I don't dress up and do any of that crap. I look like a bum normally. Like, that's just how I am. I just don't like dressing up all the time. But when I went on a date with my current boyfriend, I would like try to look presentable. So he would get upset about that, and I could see it in his face. And he was just like, look like he was bad or whatever. I don't know. And I would just leave the house. So, eventually I will tell him again, I'm like, you're just a roommate. We're not together. This isn't working out. I wish you would move out and stop, dragging this on, and it's clearly over. And then of course he's like, no, why should I move out? I live here. I pay the bills. I pay half the bills here. This is my house too. This, that, and the third. And I'm just like, bro, just move out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just did not want to let it go. And I'm just like, I can't deal with this anymore. Mind you, the apartment we shared, he literally, all he did was pay half the rent. And when he felt like it, half the utility bills. Everything that was in the apartment was mine. Like the bed, the TVs, everything, the couch was mine. I paid for all of the furnishing in the apartment. So it would only make sense for him to move out. And plus, my daughter still goes to school in the area. I go to school in the area. Like, my school's literally 2 minutes away. And I'm just like, it wouldn't make sense for us to move out opposed to you moving out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have any ties to this area like she and I do. Just leave. Plus all my stuff is in here. I'm not moving all my stuff out so you can live here. Like, I don't think so. So he just would not budge. And this went on for like almost 2 years of him not moving out, even though I kept telling him like, hey, it's over. And of course the manipulation started. The lying got more extreme. I'm just like, I can't take this anymore. I just wanted him to move out. I couldn't take it anymore. But of course, we have to play victim, well, if it wasn't for you doing this, and if it wasn't for you doing that, I wouldn't be doing this, and this, that, and this. And I'm just like, I have nothing to do with what you do. I am not influencing anything you do. I'm pretty much open with everything. I told him I was dating other people. I told him, about my current boyfriend. I said, I am with someone else now. Like, I made it known. I told him. You know what I'm saying? After a while, I did tell him because I didn't want to tell people about my relationship with this new person because I've been with him for too long. So, I just wanted to be with my current boyfriend a little bit longer before I started putting him out in the open. Like, hey, I'm with someone else. What made him actually move out? So there was something going on with him that he was not telling anyone, because after a while he became way more aggressive for no reason. And I just couldn't understand what the aggression was for. Like, it could be something simple, like, oh, can you take our daughter to the doctor? No. Why do I have to do that? Why can't you do it? Why do I have to do this? Why can't you do it? Or, you know, and what got me mad was we had to re-sign the lease. And I'm just like, you had your way out then and you did not say anything. Last year we renewed the lease. I had him go to the office to drop the lease off because I had to do other things. But he got upset about that. Why do I have to drop the lease off? Why can't you do it? It's always, why can't I do it? It's like he doesn't want to do anything, which is a part of, you know, this gaslight narcissism thing. They don't want to do things that they feel is beneath them. And it was a lot of times he wouldn't do things that I would like him to do. Like, you know, I like to clean the house. He had to do the trash and the dishes. Sometimes he wouldn't do either of those things. And I'm just like, hey, you need to do the trash. He wouldn't do them sometimes. I'm just like, you know what? I don't even know what. I just couldn't take it anymore. So moving into what I was saying, he actually had a baby by someone else, and he lied to that chick also, which I find to be so horrible. Lied to the chick about his whole life, basically. He didn't mention that he lived with me, you know, his daughter's mother. He said he lived with a cousin or something like that. You know, basically lied about his whole life, living a double life, basically, you know, coming here acting like he was one way, and then probably going over there acting like he was another way, but he was living a double life. Him having this other baby, it was my way out of this freaking relationship, and I'm so thankful that this happened because I would still probably be miserable to this day, and I'm just so happy that I am finally out of that relationship. So him having this baby, the relationship got way worse. Like, we wasn't even in a relationship. I can't even see that. Just the fighting got worse. Everything just got way freaking worse because I'm like, you've lied this whole time. And the crazy thing is, I, you know, knew that he had a baby, and I can't explain that better, but I just knew in my instinct, like my gut told me that he had a baby out here somewhere, but I just didn't have any proof of it. But someone, you know, his whatever she is, ended up, you know, contacting me, like basically stalking me on social media, harassing me about this freaking baby that she had with him. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, what the hell? Like, what I thought was actually right. So after all that came out, he finally ended up moving out because I guess, you know, he and the you know, the new BM ended up in a relationship. I don't know the background, but thankfully he just ended up moving the hell out of here. So it's sad to say that it took all that for me to finally get out of this relationship completely, because being with people like that, especially for as long as I did, I kept telling myself, you know, you don't want to break off the relationship. You've been with him too long. You have a kid together. Try to make it work. You know, unfortunately, I loved him at the time, and it was just like, you don't want to get rid of this relationship. So I tried my hardest to try to keep it, but deep down, I knew I shouldn't have been doing that. And I would tell myself, you know, leave him alone, let it go. And then, you know, next day I'm just like, oh, hey, you know, I miss you, I love you, and all this stupid shit that I would put myself into. Like, it never lasted. I would tell myself I need to go, but then I ended up running back to him anyway. And it was like, it wasn't going anywhere. So this experience has, you know, with him being the way he was and all the foul crap he was doing, and it eventually came to light, finally got me completely out of that relationship forever. And I'm just like, I don't have any desire to be with him anymore. I don't have any desire to be around him, to be honest. Like, I don't even want to be in the same area as him. I don't want to be in the same space as him. Like, I just don't want to be around him. And me being in counseling has helped me learn a lot about myself and about that relationship, and the fact that, it wasn't okay. It wasn't a good relationship. And, you know, it took me a lot to understand that it was toxic, very, very toxic. I thought it was normal to argue, to fight, to be lied to. I started to think that this was a normal relationship. This is how relationships are normally. I didn't know any better. And being with my new boyfriend now, I have to unteach myself the habits that I've developed being with Brian, and tell myself that this is not the same relationship. I can speak to my new boyfriend without having an argument about everything that I want to talk about. Even he wants to talk about some things. It doesn't turn into an argument. We can have a mature conversation, a civilized conversation. It doesn't end up into an argument. And it took me a while to adjust to that, because anytime I would bring things up to my ex, it would turn into an argument, a fighting match, hostility, aggression. And I expected that with my current boyfriend, and he would get upset. And he's like, why aren't you talking to me about certain things? Or why don't you tell me about this? And I just didn't want to, because of what I dealt with in the past. And I'm still, you know, trying to ease out of these habits, and it's been very hard. And I will admit, I do need to take more counseling to actually, you know, do better. And let me start by saying that when I got into the relationship with my current boyfriend, I didn't have any attachments to Brian at all. Like, I was done and I was over with that. Like, I wasn't in love with him anymore. I didn't have any love for him. Matter of fact, I just was over it. I just didn't care anymore. And then, like, you know, the whole baby thing came out while I was already with my current boyfriend. So, but just that happening period was my leeway, or my get out of, you know, this whole thing with him, like not living with him anymore, or him being in my personal space. I'm just thankful, because I didn't want to deal with that anymore. And I didn't know how to get out of it, because I'm telling him to move out. He don't want to move out. And it's just like, oh my God, like, what do I do? You know, like, eventually I probably would have just moved out of here and moved somewhere else. But, you know, money is a factor, and all this other stuff, and location, and, you know, finding somewhere to live is not that easy. So it was just something that I didn't have time to really look into, and it was just easier to just deal with his crap, unfortunately, for the time being. And I'm just thankful that, you know, he ended up moving out. He had to move out, you know, at that point. So that got me out of that permanently, and I'm just so freaking thankful to this day. Because eventually, you know, I started to feel very unsafe living with him being around me, him being in the same house as me. I started to feel very unsafe. And I would tell him that I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with you being here. But our daughter was still in school. This is before COVID and all that crap. And he would only come here when he had to put her on the bus for school. When he was here, I tried to like go to my boyfriend's house or something, or go somewhere where I wasn't home with him, because I really did not feel comfortable being around him, because he is just an evil person. And unfortunately, I pick up vibes from people. I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, but I pick up vibes from people and how they are. And if your vibes are not good, I don't want to be around you. His vibes were not good at all. I just got no good vibes from him. Like, I just felt very unsafe being in the same house as him. Like, I hated when he used to come home. Because usually he would just piss off and do whatever. Like, you know, it'd be rare that he would come home. And then when he did come home, I just hated it. I despised it. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, my whole like guard just went right back up because he was home. And I just hated it. You know, dealing with the lying, the manipulation, playing the victim, and all this other stuff. And even with that, with him having this other child, you know, that no one knew about until way after the baby was born, he would sit here and tell me, oh, you know, I know you were pregnant by someone. So that's why I went out here and did what I did with this person, because I knew you were pregnant. You got rid of it. You got an abortion. You didn't have it. I know that's what you did. So that's why I did what I did. I'm just like, none of that happened. None of that happened. None of that happened. None of that happened. I don't even know why he would say that. Anything to justify what he did as right. None of that, what he did was right. None of it was right. You live with your daughter, you live with her mom. You are out here doing you, doing all that stuff, having a whole family outside of the family that you already have. And then you want to sit here and tell me that I was pregnant and you know I was pregnant before. Like, I don't even understand why you would say something like that. That's just crazy to me. Like, it's just, I don't even understand. Anything to justify your crap, anything to justify what you did is okay. Just to clear your conscience off of your chest. You want to say stuff like that. That's insane to me. And I'm like, I did tell him I was dating. I did, but I'm like, I wasn't pregnant. Like, I'm not gonna lie. You know, after a while, I did get sick of being in the relationship with him. And after my daughter was born, it just got worse. I would keep telling him like, hey, you know, I'm not feeling this relationship. We should do counseling. He just wouldn't budge. Nothing would change. So I was out here, you know, messing with other people. Not gonna lie. But with me doing that, I always remembered, like, you know, I still have a family at home. I'm not gonna bring back crap from what I'm doing out here back home. I never did that. At all. I made sure of that. I never ever did that. I was very careful of what I did. Didn't bring anything back home. No drama, no extra babies, none of that stuff. So the fact that he would sit here and tell me that is just crazy. And the person that I was messing with, you know, outside of what I was doing, I didn't see him often. So you know, that's one thing. I didn't really see him that often. I would see him maybe, and I'm not even making this up, like maybe 4 times a year if I'm lucky, maybe 5 times a year. I'm not even saying a month, a year. I didn't see him often. So I'm just like, I was very careful. He was very careful because he already has kids of his own. He doesn't want any more, I guess, because he would always say like, I don't want any more kids. I don't want any more kids. And I'm like, I don't want kids with you. So we're on the same page. So that never ever happened. I was very, very careful with that. But the fact that you're going to sit here and tell me like, you know, I know you were pregnant by someone. And I told him I was messing with this guy too. I told him that, in hopes that he would stop lying about what he would do and say, hey, you know, well, I was doing this and that. He never did that. Even when this whole like harassment happened to me online with the chick telling me, you know, harassing me online, I even told him again, I said, hey, you know, I've been messing with blah, 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 for X amount of years, and still wouldn't budge. He still wouldn't say anything. He would act like he's such an innocent person, like he doesn't nothing wrong. Oh, I never cheated on you. I'm such an innocent person. I never do anything. I don't cheat. I'm not doing this. I'm such a good guy. I'm this and I'm that. And I'm just like, oh my God, you're not a good guy. You're a piece of shit. You've been cheating on me since forever. You lie like a motherfucking, like it depends on your life, you fucking lie. And, you know, you're a manipulator. You are careless to people's feelings. You don't show emotion. That's another thing he doesn't do. He doesn't, you know, tell how he's feeling. It's just like, it's just like, you know, being with a freaking dead body. He don't talk to you. There's no emotions. It's just like, it's just a poor relationship being with someone like that. And it's like, you know, when they finally do talk, it's a lie. And then it's like, anything they tell you, it's like, do you believe what they're saying? Because he lies too damn much. Can you believe this? Is this the truth? It's like, you don't know what the hell to believe, because it's like they lie too much. Like, even around, you know, with my daughter, it's just weird seeing him react with her, because it's like he doesn't show emotion too well. You know, I love my daughter to death. I probably show like the highest emotion with her than I do with anyone else. But with him, you would feel like, you know, he would be attached to her, like, hey, you know, this is my daughter. I love her so much. It was just weird seeing him interact with her. And I can't explain that any better, but it's just like, it's awkward. And my mother even noticed it too. She's like, you know, him reacting with, you know, your daughter is like awkward. It's like he is forcing himself to do it. And, you know, it's just awkward. And no, you know, before people say, oh, maybe it's not his kid, it's his baby. Like, it's his child. There's no doubt about that at all. That's his kid. Like, so it's it's just hard to explain, but I'm just letting this video out, and I know I ran it for a really long time, but you know, if you have any of these symptoms or any of these signs of being with someone like that's a gaslighter, you know, or a narcissist, manipulation is a big thing. The lying, questioning reality is a big thing. You know, especially with me, because I overthink a lot of things, like, because it didn't make sense of what he would tell me, and I would question reality a lot, like, why doesn't this make any sense? How does this fit into this? How does this make sense into this? It makes you overthink. It made me overthink a lot, and I used to hate it. I had no peace of mind being with him. I really didn't, because a lot of my mind was consumed with trying to make sense of what he would tell me, and why it didn't make any sense and how it made sense, and it just drove me insane. So there's that, and then you have you know, the telling you promises that they don't keep, and you know, the aggression and the hostility, the lack of empathy, like all of that stuff. And being with someone like that, you know, even myself, I think to this day, I'm like, I don't think he loved me at all. Like, you know, it's sad to say it, but I don't think he did. And it just makes you question a lot of things, like, why was he with me this long? Why couldn't he just let the relationship go? And it just makes you just crazy. I don't want to say I have PTSD from that relationship, but I have, you know, some kind of form of it. I don't know. There are definitely triggers that remind me back of the relationship with him, and that I have to work on, and I really do need to take counseling again. But I really made this video because I want other people out here that may possibly be in a relationship like this to please recognize the signs and to please get out of that relationship, because myself, I'm terribly freaking regretful that I stayed in this relationship this long. And I should have left when I was going to leave 2 years into the relationship. I should have just left and left him alone. But you know, you live and you learn, and unfortunately I'm learning right now, and I'm living it. So but you know, I'm gonna post some links down into the description. So please, if you see these symptoms, if you see these signs, please, you know, recognize it, go get help, get counseling. And I know it's probably gonna be hard to try to leave these people, because, you know, especially my ex, he was very persistent and saying that he had no issues and all this other stuff. And, you know, they promise you things that they're going to change, and then it doesn't happen. And then you still stick around for longer than you expected because you're waiting for their promise to fulfill, and it never happens. So please don't fall into that trap like I did. Just please move on with your life and just find other outlets, and, you know, spend more time with your family, and, you know, just don't drive yourself crazy like I did. I'm thankful, very, very thankful for my family, because they have been there for me during this whole thing with this guy. And of course my boyfriend has been there. You know, he's been very understanding, and I'm very freaking thankful for him, because he has been very patient with me. And you know, he understands. And I just wanted to make this more aware to people, because this is something serious. And I'm just thankful. I'm very, very thankful that I got out of that relationship when I did, because I was becoming, and I didn't tell anyone this, but I was becoming suicidal. Like, I was thinking, like, the only way out of this relationship and the only way out of me being around him, period, is just to you know, commit suicide and just be done, because I was just so tired of it. And you're telling him to move out, you know, just move on with your life. And he's claiming there's nothing wrong. We should still be in a relationship. There's nothing going on. I don't need to move out. And it's just like, oh my God, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like, this guy just won't leave it alone. And I just hope that no one is out here that's in a relationship like this that deep, where they're considering suicide, because I'm just extremely thankful that I got out of that when I did, because it really started to make me super depressed. Even being around him was making me super depressed. Living with him making me super depressed. it just had me into a mode where I just did not want to be around anybody. And even my daughter, like, you know, what made me get counseling was her, because she said, Mommy, you know, you don't play with me as much as you used to. You're always in your room and not talking to me. And it made me cry, because I'm just like, I'm turning into someone, like, I'm really depressed. Like, I'm not even playing with my child. I'm not even talking to her. Like, it just became to that point. And like, I'm really not gonna sit here and act like I've been innocent the entire relationship, but you know, I turned into a person that I'm not. I turned into a violent person. I turned into a freaking, like, a hostile person. I turned into an argumentative person. Like, I've turned into someone that I am not. I'm deep down, I'm an extremely nice person. Like, I'm a sweet person. Like, I'm shy naturally. You know, I'm not like any of these things. I'm not violent. I'm not argumentative. Like, I'm very laid back. I'm very chill. But being with Brian for as long as I was, it turned me into someone I'm not. And I'm trying to move, you know, out of that way that I was into my natural self again. And, you know, it's just not okay. And I don't want anyone else to deal with what I did for as long as I did. Hopefully not as long as that. Please, like, I just don't. If you need counseling, please get it. You know, counseling, unfortunately, I don't know if there's outlets out here for free counseling, because I ended up paying for my counseling, and it wasn't cheap. That's why I'm not taking it right now, because it's super freaking expensive. But when I do get money again, I am going to take counseling. But like, talk to someone, because I didn't talk to anyone about my relationship with him at all. You know, the things he would do. And I feel like if I would have talked to someone about it, I probably would have been out of that relationship way sooner, because someone would have told me, like, hey, you know, this is what's going on. This is what he's doing. And, you know, but I never talked to anyone about it. I was too embarrassed. Like, I've been with him too long. I don't want people to think, you know, because people kind of looked at my relationship and was envious of it. They're like, oh, they've been together, you know, X amount of years and this, that, and the third. Like, people were envious of our relationship. So I didn't want to post, you know, I didn't want to tell anyone about how it was going wrong, or I didn't want to tell anyone, because I was just, you know, like, you know, people are envious of this relationship. So I kept it going for that reason as well. And I didn't tell anybody about any bad things that happened in our relationship. But eventually I started telling my mom what was going on, but like telling her bits, like really, literally small bits of it, but not like everything. So I just wish that I spoke to someone about my relationship sooner and was more open about it, instead of me keeping it closed in. But you should always talk to someone about things that you don't feel comfortable with, or just don't keep it a secret. Don't keep it inside like I did. I'm paying the price now. You know, I'm still, there's still things that trigger me to that past relationship. There's still flashbacks that I get of it. And it's not good things. It's just horrible. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. But yeah, I'm just thankful that I'm not in that anymore. So if anyone has any questions or anything that they want to tell me, you know, feel free to ask. But I'm gonna end the video here, because I don't really have anything to say. After a while I started to repeat myself, which I probably did already, so I'm just gonna stop the video right here. But I will have my links to my social medias down below. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm a pretty much an open book now. I tell people pretty much everything. And yeah, so if you know anyone that is going through these same things that I did, please tell them to get some help or to talk to someone about it. Don't keep it inside, because it could lead into something very serious, and that could be very dangerous to their health. Just reach out and just talk to someone. I'm someone that people love to talk to about their problems. I don't know why, but even strangers, they will come up to me like, hey, you know, this and this and this and this and this and this going on in my life. And I'm just like, why me? Why do people come to me with their problems? But it's fine. I'm used to it. I talk to people all the time. You know, just tell me what's going on. I'm here. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to end the video right here. You guys have a good day, and bye.